Biden is not yet decided on student loan forgiveness, Psaki says. August. So President Biden said on Monday that he has not yet made up his mind on the amount of federal student loan debt he would seek to forgive, as White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said a final decision might not come until the end of August. Biden had talked on the presidential campaign trail about reducing some $10,000 in student debt per borrower, but he has been under pressure from a number of Democratic lawmakers to go as high as $50,000. Personally, do I think that they're going to do this? No. I don't even think they're going to do $10,000 because people need to understand that like the student loan fiasco is like an asset for the federal government because they make money from all these people that are paying their student loans. So the president has also been criticized by Republicans who characterize the loan forgiveness as a giveaway to wealthy parents who can afford to pay down their children's debt, and also by those who question why taxpayers who don't go to college should have to pay the debt of those who do. And here's the thing that is very true, right? Why should another person pay for what another person does, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, imagine your best friend, they decided to buy a brand new car on a loan, right? So, a brand new car, $40,000. Let's just say that, right? They're making payments and then they no longer make payments, right? So now they're on the hook for $30,000. But because of interest and all that kind of stuff, actually they owe more. So maybe they actually owe more like $50,000 because they're late, they owe money, the interest, all that kind of stuff, right? So that 30,000 that they actually owed is now 50,000. But now you are responsible with helping paying that person, your best friend's loan on their car, right? You have no choice, you have no say, but you are responsible with helping to pay that down, even though your best friend decided to buy that car. Your best friend decided to get a loan that they could not afford to get that car, right? And you, having no impact on your friend's life, having no decision, no impact on their decision, no like helping them make a decision, not you getting involved in their life at all, you are going to be forced to help pay for their loan that they could not afford to begin with due to their choice. It gets into like a really weird situation. It's like, is that really okay? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with being forced to pay for another person's decisions? Okay? That's the thing that people need to understand, right? Like, it's never free money. All this is not free money. It's literally the government stealing from other people to help pay for other people's bad decisions. That being said, a lot of the times that these colleges gave away these student loans were in pretty malicious practices, and those should be forgiven because obviously, if someone was told one thing, got a loan, and the reality was completely different, that's a whole nother situation, right? And there's already rules for that to be forgiven. Like if you basically were the victim of very malicious practices from student loans companies or colleges that pushed student loans onto you and very bad methods, your student loan will probably be forgiven because it's already, in a lot of cases, been forgiven, which has nothing to do with these. Like, this is just like a general, oh, student loan forgiveness thing, but like, which doesn't make any sense. At a White House event Monday, to recognize federal civil service workers, Biden was asked if he is nearing a decision. Not yet, he responded. In Psaki at the White House briefing later in the day was questioned about whether political pressure would speed up the timeline for Biden to make a determination in whether it would be fair to borrowers with limited financial resources. That's the goal, right? Is to make sure it's targeted at people who need help the most, she said. She also said the administration is looking at the end of August when the latest debt forgiveness extension expires. What we conveyed is the timeline through which the pause on student debt is going through. So it was before that time, unless the president decided to extend it, a decision would be made, she said. Biden last week threw cold water on suggestions that he would forgive up to $50,000 per student loan borrower. I am considering dealing with some debt reduction. I am not considering $50,000 of debt reduction, he said. But I'm in the process of taking a hard look at whether or not there will be additional debt forgiveness, and I will have an answer on that in the next couple of weeks. Now, here's the thing, right? It's very hard to believe that they are going to forgive student loan debt while at the same time still giving student loan debt. Like it's very odd, right? It's like, okay, so you are going to try to lose weight while still feeding yourself a full extra large size pizza every day. Does that make sense? Not really. And this is the weird thing too. It's like student loans should not be forgiven, but what the government should do is completely get rid of the interest rate on these student loans. Because one of the biggest issues of these student loans is that they have an interest rate that ends up compounding, and you basically end up having people who had like initially like a 20 or 30,000 student loan to now, like after a few years, maybe a couple of decades of only making the minimum payments, they're now at like a 60 to like an $80,000 student loan debt that they have because of the interest, right? And that's just like wrong, right? Like I perfectly understand completely getting rid of the interest rate. So if you borrowed $20,000 for student loans, okay, you only have to pay $20,000 because that's what you borrowed. I perfectly understand if someone borrowed $40,000, okay, just pay the $40,000 that you borrowed without interest, right? Because that's a much better option to help out every person that borrowed student loans, right? Regardless of their income level, regardless of their situation, their specific financial situation, regardless of the degree that they decided to get or did not get, right? It makes it a lot easier on them. It's like, okay, and also it's like a moral thing too, right? It's like, okay, I borrowed $80,000 for my degree. Okay, I should pay in full that $80,000 that I borrowed, but no more. Okay, that would fulfill the moral obligation, but then also you know you're not even getting screwed even more so because you're not having to pay like 20, 30, $40,000 more in just purely interest, right? Like if you want like student loans from the federal government to be like a boon, something like a bonus to potential school enrollers, university enrollers, then you would provide these loans without any interest at all, right? That is something that everyone should be okay with, right? But you can't just forgive student loans because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very angry with being forced to basically pay for other people's decisions, right? I use the whole best friend in the buying a brand new car that they can't afford situation, right? A lot of people don't think of it like that way, but guess what? If they decide to forgive student loans, you are going to be forced to pay for other people's decisions. Regardless if you borrowed student loans or not, right? You're going to be forced to pay for other people's decisions, period, end of story. And that gets into like a really, really weird situation. And also, it's kind of even more weird on top of that because, again, they're still giving away loans, right? So to forgive student loans while also giving student loans makes literally no financial sense at all, right? Just none. It makes no sense at all. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com and feel free to give your thoughts as to whether or not you think that the president should forgive student loans or how they could potentially go about this where pretty much everyone would be okay with. To me, I think everyone would pretty much be okay with it if they simply canceled the interest rate, meaning zero interest rate at all for any government loan. That's the way that I would view it.